Yeah, he just, he can't see.
We're gonna smile for the camera.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll call to order the work session for Morgan Township trustees dated May 23rd, 2022 at 6:00. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Huff?
Yes. All right, I'm going to turn this over to
Okay.
Assistant Chief Griffith. We got a caller that's going to talk to us about document storage.
And before I turn it over to Mark, SC View, and Mark can tell you more about it, is used by, and Mark, you can put on your audio if I'm not wrong, used by the majority of public entities and school districts in Ohio and around the country for document storage and document solutions. They're the market leader in it as far as my research, and really they kind of have the whole market. Is that correct, Mark? I don't find many other applications that have this.
Yeah, we are the largest in Ohio, and kind of just kind of expand a little bit upon what you said. So we do work with over 600 school districts in Ohio and a number of not only municipalities, but counties, sheriff's offices, various different government entities that are looking to basically manage and store documents in more of an electronic format. We have been in business for over 15 years. We are based in Ohio. We have a couple of different offices that do, there's kind of two sides of our business. One is to take documents that are in paper-based format and turn them into digital documents. And then the other side is the software to manage those and help with various things of storing those documents, but also workflows and things to allow us some more efficiency within different customers that we work with.
So
That being
I'll turn it
said,
over to
I
you, Mark,
don't
if you give
know.
them the presentation.
Yep, I'm sure I can start off. And just to confirm, can you guys see my screen at this point?
But we see your yeah, we see your screen, but we see your you got something in front of it. Is that you got your?
Is that?
No,
or is
that's
that
him.
ours?
You've got some sort
It
of.
should be a screen that shows. Hold on one second. Let me
You
stop
might be on
sharing.
dual screen, but we see like your mail, PowerPoint, your apps menu.
The start,
The start
menu,
is
Mark.
is in front
That's
of.
Morgan zoning.
Yeah, it says Morgan
It says
Zoning
Morgan
at the
Zoning.
bottom.
Morgan zoning, I
Oh,
told you.
well, Mark, it's not yours. It's Morgan Zoning. Don't turn it off.
Yeah, I don't. I think you should be able to see mine now that says like workflow summary
Yeah,
here.
we
Can you
have
see my
something in
vision?
front of it. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, don't turn it
Okay.
off, she
That's
said.
power,
Oh,
buddy.
well, it's not going down.
Can you get rid of it?
I can't even move it.
Yeah, man. Hold on.
Okay.
No, that was him. We lost him.
No, I can still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you could see us, you
Now-
could see us, but, we, all right.
Go back to that. Let's get it back.
Are we losing?
Yes, we lost him. We'll get it back. It's good.
I can hear you guys.
No, we just can't see video.
Oh, okay.
I'm not operating this, chief.
If you logged into the meeting, it should automatically.
All right,
We can see it now.
Okay. And can you see my screen at this point? It's got the workflow summary here in the center.
Yeah, we don't actually see you. We just see your screen, which is fine.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, as long as you can see my screen. So basically what we've developed is a solution called SC View. SC View basically will take any documents that you guys have and allow you to store them in a way that you can search and find a document within 10 seconds or less. It's been utilized by a number of different customers from anywhere from board minutes to employee file, personnel files, in regards to like records for the actual county or townships that we work with. They can store those as well, whether it be plat maps, as I've kind of set up in some of the demonstrations here for various different building departments, but also any type of record. The way that it would work is we have a record search button right in the center of the screen here, and you can actually create a customized set of either departments or document types that you can look at. So as an example, I could go, and I'm just going to do one for Board of Education. You can see that there are a number of different file types. This is all customizable based on the specific criteria that you guys would have for names of documents, search fields that you want to be able to want to search those documents by. So for board minutes, maybe date of meeting. We also have something called OCR search where you can just search documents. But basically, this software would store those documents within it. If I did a search, I'd be able to pull up any of the records here on the lower left-hand corner, bring up my results. And if I would click on any of those results, I would be able to see then the documents that are applied to that specific criteria or those indexes. Once I'm over here, you can see these are older board minutes that we scanned in for another customer from 1933. You can see that I have two kind of views of the document. In the center, I've got what we call a thumbnail view, which allows me to easily go up and down through each one of those pages if I didn't want to, have to scroll down through them on the right. And then I get a larger view over here on my right-hand side. The really nice part about the software is we also give you a number of tools to use with these documents. So, right from here, I can actually print a specific page if I wanted to. I can amend and, bring a new page in if I had, a PDF scanned on my desktop that I wanted to bring in. I can also zoom in and out on an image if I want to make it larger or smaller. I can add notes to it. So if I wanted to draw a text box and put a note in here, I can do that. It won't affect the underlying document, but I can leave notes, like think of it like a sticky note for someone that, the next person that comes to that file, and I can easily delete those without changing the document completely. We also have the ability to add in redactions if you want. So you can redact specific areas of a document. And for all of these, if I wanted to either print or right click, those redactions would stay on the screen if I printed that file, or if I did want to give users the capability to do so, I could allow them to email directly out of the system, and any of those annotations that they would have added to that document would be permanent for the recipient in the email, but would not change the underlying document in the system. The other nice part is that we track everything that's done within the system, so there's always a history of it, so you can go down to any page or group of pages and see what was done to that specific document with a date and time stamp, and who actually did that. So it's very kind of secure from that standpoint from an auditing purpose. We also have the ability to add different text, predefined text annotations. So you can put something like approved or canceled, confidential, that would be able to be added to any type of document for printing purposes or whatnot, as you would go through that. Additionally, there is a signature stamp that you can add in. So if you wanted to put, a lot of times for different things, you may need to put a statement with a signature. We can do that as well and have that applied to a document by selecting that option or button. That being said, we also allow you to manipulate these documents any way you're looking to do. You can move them into different orders if you wish. You can select multiple. If I wanted to print just the first 3 pages of this, I can select those 3 pages, right click, and either print or email. So lots of flexibility here within how you handle and manage documents. On the flip side to this, the other question comes up is, how do you bring documents into the system? So there are 2 ways that we do that. The one side of our business is what we call our service bureau, where we will take any paper files that you guys have, whether they're in filing cabinets or in boxes within a storage room, and we will come on site. We bring our own staff and crew, and we will box up any records that are in a filing cabinet and basically apply an index to that, bring them back to our facility and scan those into electronic versions of those documents. And then at the end of the scanning process, you have an option to either have the documents returned to you for the hard copy files, or a number of our customers, because they're looking to basically get more space. And once the documents are scanned, they may have us securely to store those documents for them after they've been scanned and reviewed in the system. That being said, we do work with the state of Ohio, the Ohio History Connection. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but they are the group that manages your records retention policies for school districts, townships, and whatnot. They would have, your records retention schedule on file, and we do work closely with them to be able to pull up what your, current records retention policy is, if you have one in place. And if you don't, then work with you to get one put in place so that you guys can be compliant. So I know I went through quite a bit there. I wanted to just pause and see if there were any questions or I could maybe answer at this point. And if not, I can kind of show a little bit more in regards to our workflow processes.
So can
All
you,
right.
real quick, can you, limit access? Like, I know you mark confidential on things that you were, sending out that, but on, excuse me.
Yep.
When
So
when
in regards to your question, and I apologize because I'm trying to lean closer to the computer, but it's kind of hard to hear you guys in the room. But I think the question was, can you limit, users' access? And you certainly can.
Okay.
Obviously, not everyone's allowed to have access to every type of record or document. And the way that our system is set up is you can grant individual access rights to do individual, or I should say, have individual access rights and capabilities for each user of the system. So as an example, if I looked at myself here, I can go in and basically go in and set up myself as a user. Here's where I would have my own signature stamp if I'd want to, have that within the system. But for each document type within the system, I can create access points. Obviously, there's going to be an administrative function. So is someone an administrator? Can they add users to the user group? Can they adjust users' capabilities? If you want, we can manage this on our end with our support team as well. Obviously, you just need to define what the capabilities are for each user. But the way that the system is set up, I can allow each user to have the ability to view a document, search it, print it, email it, edit it, create, append. So basically, it's very customizable for each individual user what they can do and have access to within the system. The other thing that we can do is set up groups. So if there are, a number of like users, instead of having to do that for each individual user, you could set up a group and give that group specific access rights and then just add individuals to the group as well. If you have a lot of people that are coming in and out, that is a better option because then you don't have to go through the list and assign specific document types for each time someone's either added or removed from the system. Great question, though.
And more specifically, Mark, if there was human resource personnel files, that could be limited to one or two people. That could be a human resource group, correct? And only one or two, or whoever the trustees decide to have access could have access, correct?
Yeah, that is 100% correct. So just the users that would have access to that document type. So when I go under document types here, one of them would be, I think I've got one in here that may be HR records in here in my demo, but it would just be one of these, record types. So maybe it's personnel files, and those two individuals would have access to these file types, but no one else would. So when they would go to their search, they would not even see that those are available document types. When they would jump into a search, they would just have access to the document types that they were authorized to view. So basically this list will get bigger or smaller based on, what rights that they have within the system.
Would we have that mechanism to download and scan the items ourselves?
Yes. So there's two ways that you can bring files into the system. I don't know if you guys have an internal scanner, currently within the township that you guys utilize. If you do,
Well, could we configure a copy printer that has a scanner function on it, or will we need a separate scanner?
No, you don't need a separate scanner, but we can provide you with one if you would like. So we have two options for you. One, the system is very easy to actually bring information into the system. So give me one moment here. I'm just going to try to show a desktop real quick here. 1 second. Okay, so if you look here, I've got just a PDF document on my desktop. It's as simple as just dragging and dropping that document into the system, and it will automatically upload it and then ask you to index that document. So as soon as I drag it in, I can say, okay, what type of file is this? Obviously, this list is kind of all-encompassing for our demo, but these are all customizable, and you would only see your specific record types when you would do this. So let's say this is a personnel file. If I select that, it will then ask me what are the indexes for that personnel file. So, last name, first name, date of birth, whatever you guys would select for that file type. And I could just hit save, and it would then bring that right into the system. The other way that it can be done is we have a tool for online indexing. So I don't know the copy printer machine that you guys have there. We have the capability to actually email to what we call our indexing server. So you can actually just send it via email through that device, and you would be able to index it as like a batch here. So I'd be able to bring up, this would be like an image that was sent from that copier scanner, and I could put in, again, the indexes and hit, next if I did multiple at the same time, index each of those, and then when I was done, just close it out. It would store those into the system for you. The last way is that we actually have the ability, we'll give you a software that we call SC Scan, and this allows you to just bring in any type of document from a scanner. We can either provide you a desktop scanner, or if you're using that same, internal printer scanner, we can certainly just have it set up as long as it needs an ISIS driver to actually operate it. I'll just bring this program here. This is SC Scan. So this allows you to bring in multiple, if you're just doing a lot of scanning and you want to bring in like a batch, you can actually go and just either scan right from this program or import it from, maybe folders or files that you have on a computer. So let's say I just want to go, I've got PDFs and they're on this invoices folder on my desktop. This is just on my computer. Select demo. We usually like to say for like a batch name, you can just put who did it, or I'll put like what type of file it is. So I'm just gonna put invoices for this one, and let's say the date, and then my initials. I'm gonna put a note here if I want a specific batch. But once I do that, it's gonna bring in 24 different documents directly to the system that it can go in and index. And if I had opened this batch, I just imported those 24 files. Here's like an example. These are invoices that I brought in, but these were just files in a folder. And now I can index these specifically and add in criteria for what document type it is. See invoices, and then I've got my indexes I could add. Once I add that information, I just hit close, and they're automatically uploaded into the system for me with that criteria so that I could search for that document again.
if all those batch files were going to go into one location, would you be able to highlight them on the left-hand side and bring them all in at once under that same place?
Can you say that question one more time for me? I think I understood, but I just want to make sure. So,
Yeah,
I just brought in 24 right here. Each one of these are
Right.
going to be
Okay.
individual
All right,
files, but
yeah.
if let's say that this was like a 25-page one document, I would just index the top level and it would bring all 25 of those in at the same time.
Okay, all right, I misunderstood then. One thing about that, I'm Dale, I'm in the
Dale.
zoning department. In the scanning, going back to some of our older documents, I have blueprints, plans, plats that are 24 by 36, that I would really have no way of reducing it to get them into this.
Yeah, you don't need to actually because it'll store them in their original size. So I just did a project. Give me 1 second. I'm going to close this out here. This will be probably helpful for you. That's weird. This may make sense too when we start talking about workflows a little bit, but I just worked with a county that was their zoning department. They were doing plat map and basically splitting of properties. We have something within the system. Let me grab. This is a large scale format map. It's going to take just a second to load here because I'm at home on my computer, but they will load and they will keep the original format. So this is, I think, 24 by 36, if I'm not mistaken. They have it set up where they can actually have like their submission forms brought in, which is like basically requesting that they're splitting a property, and then attach the plat map to it. That would be from, like an outside surveyor or something of that nature.
Right. Stuff that
You can
I-
actually,
Well, stuff that
Yep.
I actually do, yeah, I understand.
yep. So you can bring this in and, you can zoom in on it. We also have the capabilities to allow for things like e-signing of documents or review and approval processes. So as an example, this is just holding documents, right? But there's also workflow configurations that we allow for. So let me go through the plat map one here for you real quick. So they have it set up that it goes through a plat map designed for initial approval and review, and then would go to, requesting fees and basically go to various queues for review and approval of those specific plat maps. Set here.
Well, I think
Wow.
my question was more toward all of the big ones that I have that I have no way to scan into a scanner that is going to take 24 by 36 paper. In other words, these go back years,
Mm-hmm.
some of the older ones.
Yeah, so in that case, what we would do is, as I was mentioning, like our service bureau, we can bring those plat maps in for you. We could do the scanning for you at a large scale.
Okay,
As an example, I think these are all public records from Montville too. But here we did a lot of maps, scanning plat maps for one of the townships locally here, and we brought those in. So these are large scale that we brought in for them.
right. I mean, because I know that with most of the surveyors that I work with who bring the plats and the land descriptions in and everything else, when they're doing a split or a consolidation, I usually ask them for a file that is, 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11, so I can do it electronically as well and keep it in my records. But this would be great. They could send it in its original form via email and then come in and pay me. And everything.
Right.
So if you.
Yeah, and we do have abilities too, if you'd ever want to, even off of like electronic forms, handle payments of it. So, you know, there's kind of different stages that I would recommend. Maybe at first you just have them send it electronically and store them in here, but through our workflow processes, we can make any form electronic, and including like ability to capture and submit credit card payment information as well. If that's something that you guys would like to do, you don't have to, but you could. So in this like workflow here, the way that they had it set up, if I'm looking at this plat map as it goes through the process, here's their form. This was created to be electronically filled out. So we can take just a piece of paper and make it electronic, which is how this is done, or we'll design a custom electronic form that looks more like an electronic form, and they can fill it out and submit it with then that plat map. So in this case, it's got a space in here, somewhere it had file number, to upload the file, and they fill out the form and then upload the file right with it, and it goes through them for the initial review, calculate the fees, allows them to like review and say, okay, here's what the fees are. Once they do that, they can, you know, say, okay, fees have been calculated, and now we're going to send it for initial review. At whatever your process is, we would match that. They're also using it to send it out to other, like maybe the utilities for sign off on it. So that's where these queues are for awaiting signatures and whatnot. But we can pretty much build any electronic process for you, just the way that the system is designed, so that it could, you know, go through that process and ultimately then be stored, the final version in the database for you.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. In regards to the workflows, so there can be unlimited number of workflows that you guys set up within the system, or electronic forms, as we were talking on that as well. So it could be, you know, whether it's hiring, where you want to send the paperwork out to them electronically and have it be, you know, come back and start an employee file for them. That's an option for you as well. But there are a number of uses that, you know, I'm not going to propose that I know what all your use cases could be, but this process is set up that we can design most any process that's paper-based to make it electronic if you choose to do so. And you can also do a hybrid of both if you want to have it, you know, all go through the process as it currently is doing. You're currently now set up in like a paper-based process, and then scan it in the at the very end of the process. Obviously, that can be accomplished as well. Big thing is that everything in the system is stored electronically. Then we do maintain this. It is a cloud-based service, so that you have access to the data via, you know, any internet connection with your username and password and credentials to get into the system if you're an authorized user. We do have multiple redundancies, so there are 2 backup data centers that actually house the data, and it's backed up every night. And the most important thing with us that I think really separates us is you always own your own data. So anything that you put into the system, if for whatever reason in the future you decide not to use the system, you still own all your own data, and we will provide you an export of all the data that's been entered into the system. So all of those images, as well as the index file that matches those images. And if you want as a backup copy to have, you know, whether it's annual or whatever that time period would be, we can provide you that backup if you wanted to keep one at the township as well.
Mark, I got a quick question. It's Tom Brucker. Is it when you enter a document into the database, can you put criteria on that will automatically be deleted according to the, you know, our document retention policy? Like if we have to keep that document, say for 3 years, can we say pick a date and then it will automatically be deleted, or does somebody have to physically go in and delete it at, you know, once it reaches its maturity?
Yeah, so with records retention policies, we don't usually auto delete anything, but what we can do is put a record, we could have a criteria for this is its, you know, record retention schedule, and a date can be put into it. And when it hits that date, we can come back and say, here are all the documents that are up for deletion. Are you sure you want to delete these? And if you say yes, then we can go ahead and delete those for you. So it can be automated, but we typically don't set up an auto delete just with the Ohio history connection. That there's kind of some gray areas there about making sure there's a double check before you start deleting records out of a system.
Right. That seems to be our problem now. We've got the record retention policy, but it takes time to go into the different files and delete or discard, dispose of documents, so they just stay forever.
But once they reach that date, you could bulk delete them all, correct? If they had.
Correct. Yep, we
if they
double
had
check
50
with you. We would just pull them all into like their own separate area and say, here's the files that are up for deletion. We can send it to an Excel sheet or however you want to see it and say, okay, are you sure you want to delete these? If you give us the go ahead, we'll delete them. So you don't have to go in and like delete each one individually, but we don't like just set the system up to auto delete things based on a date that's in there, if that makes sense. So it sounds like it would kind of be, hybrid what you're doing now. You wouldn't have to go in and delete individual or go into files to delete them. We could have the record retention schedule right on it, and then, it would just put them into a holding queue for final review before deletion.
Okay, thank you.
That being said, a couple other things that we've done. I mean, there's obviously other areas that we have, but e-signing is another capability that we have in the system. These are optional modules that you can add on if you're looking to do so. But for e-signing, I can take and basically make any document. A lot of times, like contracts or whatever you're looking to do and have signed, I can take that document and upload it and basically make it a signing document for signature. So I can see something that I can grab real quick here. I'm going to do a field trip form. I'm going to put the signer in here. Once I do that, it takes that PDF document and makes it now something that I can actually put signatures on or text boxes on within the document. So, let's say that I want to have this filled out here with the signature. You can just drag that signature here, and I put the date signed here, and maybe I want the text box here for the name, and I'll do another one for phone number. And once I do that, I could put any notes that I want to that individual signer here as well. I can have multiple signers. So let's say it needs to go through 3 or 4 signatures. I would just keep adding those people or add those signatures boxes, and I would see each of those signers here at the top. And then I can go through and put a note to them. Sign. And if someone wanted a copy, I could send that as well. But once I send that request, it's going to go and give me the ability to track and see, where that is within the process. So now that I've added it, it's in here pending. I can see, what the status is on it. If I wanted to double click it, I can see who my signers are for this specific document. In this case, it's just me as the person with it. But what they get on their end is going to be more of a signature request. So it'll look like an email like this. So it just came in on my end. So I get this email. Obviously, this could be, made to look with or have your information on the email that they receive. But basically, they would just be able to click here to sign, and here's that document I just created. I can put in name, and I can then sign. Whether they want to do it in this manner here, or some people would just like to have a type that they can put in with that date signed. Once I finalize signatures, that would come in and now show that that document has been signed, but it also then saves the document automatically into the system, so that I could search and pull up that record in future use cases. And again, these are optional modules that you can add on. Everything is run off the core SEView document management system, and these are all just kind of add-on modules that have proved helpful for others. That being said, this is pretty much what I wanted to go through and show. Are there any other questions that you guys have, or areas I thought I covered that maybe I didn't?
Can we talk about pricing a little bit?
Sure. So, 1 second here. And I don't know, Jeff, did you share the proposal that I had sent to the group?
Yeah, Tom has it right there.
Yeah, we shared it.
Okay, yeah.
We
so
shared
give
it
me 1 second. I'll
4
pull it
weeks
up
ago.
on my end too. So here's the proposal that I had sent to Jeff. And like I said, everything's kind of a module that's built off it. If you want us to do scanning, there is, scanning services for small format, which is what we consider anything less than 11 by 17. If it is large format, so kind of like the maps that we were talking about earlier, there's a pricing for those. There's never any cost for the database's size other than the initial upload of that image. So when we're showing the web hosting, there's a one-time fee that uploads that image into the file. Unlike some, solutions that I've seen in the industry, we don't charge you for how big your database gets. So you can keep putting files in there and it doesn't change your annual fee other than, there's the 1 cent when you upload it the first time. OCR is a function that I didn't really show yet. I can go through that, but basically it'll take any uploaded or scanned document that has type and allow that type to be searchable. A lot of times for like board minutes, that may be helpful. So if you have, a large range of different board minutes that may have been like written on a typewriter or weren't electronic up front, you can search those documents then for like names or ordinances or whatever you're looking for, and you'll be able to find and see those results as opposed to having to scan through a lot of different pages within the file. On top of that, the software itself is the other option with it. So you kind of have two options that I put together. It really depends on what you're looking for number of users. So this model is set up on a per user model. It's $29.95 is what the yearly support and maintenance is for the system. And then it's $5.95 for each user as a one-time fee for their setup. You can add on, like I said, the additional modules. So you don't have to purchase these all together. These are all optional other than the SEV software to kind of be the base of the system. The electronic forms and workflow module, you can see what that is. And then if you wanted that scan station software license that I was kind of showing about indexing in on the fly or hooking up your scanner, that's what it would be. The other option for you is just to do a site license. So it doesn't matter how many users you have, it's just going to be this fee annually for the site license. You can have as many users as you want, different departments. And then you would have the same fees for the electronic workflow module, electronic forms, and then any of the if you did need the scan station software license. So those are kind of the two options for you. Like I said, services would be scanning old documents. If you already have them scanned or want to scan them yourselves, then that doesn't really apply. But the software itself is then broken up right below it.
Okay, for option number one, it's $29.95 per year and then $5.95 per user, one-time fee, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if we have, and I don't see us having more than probably 5 or 6 users, I think that would be our best option because it's $59.95 per year for an unlimited license, but that's every year, so we would be saving $3,000, which is basically
You pay it
5 years,
Time.
5 users. And it's a one-time fee.
Yeah.
I think.
It just depends on like if you have a lot of. The one difference between these two modules, or options, I should say, to make note of is that if you have a lot of people coming in and out, it's like this is for each individual person. If we have to do a user setup, it's $5.95, right? So I don't know if you have a lot of like different people coming in and out. That's just something to consider with it as well.
Well, you would set the license up to be zoning and.
Right, and could it be per department as opposed to user, or does it have to be assigned?
No, well, so here it doesn't matter. It does matter here though, because these are individual users, right? Because anytime you have a new user, we have to set that person up in the system. So that's why there's a $5.95 fee per. So like, let's say, I'm just going to throw out names, but let's say John is the user for zoning, right? But then John leaves and now Jeff is coming in for zoning. There's going to be a setup fee for Jeff. Does that make sense? Where in this case, it doesn't matter. It's just, that's the site license. You can bring in as many people or out as many people as you want on a yearly basis.
Okay. For the services for the comprehensive scanning fee, is it 7 cents per image? Is there a break once you get over a certain number of documents, or is that set?
It's pretty much set because it's I mean, we've done, school districts that are like we did Cincinnati Public Schools are 13 million images. I mean, there's lots of files there, but it's still 7 cents per image because it's really just factoring in. Even when you get a lot of images, we still have to scan them manually. So services, unfortunately, is a very labor intensive process, and there's not really a lot of price break for, large scale. The one thing that I would say that we allow for, and it's not written in this proposal, but if you go with the software, we will set up like multiple years for payment of the scanning project. So as an example, I'm just going to throw out numbers, but let's say that at the 7 cents per image, you have so many images and it's, let's say to scan everything, it's $10,000. We would allow you to break that 10,000 into, up to 3 years if you'd like, provided that you're using our software. So you don't have to pay it all up front, but we would scan everything all up front for you.
Okay.
So it kind of comes down to like, maybe that's not a concern. Sometimes there's budget concerns that different customers are working with, and that's one way that we've tried to help them out with that, is allowing it to be over multi-year for the payment of the scanning project. I should note though that in regards to the scanning fee, just to highlight, so it does include the pickup of the records, us boxing them, us picking them up, transitioning them back, doing the scanning. You also have unlimited retrieval. So if you need something while we're scanning it, we would send it to you at no charge, either upload it in the system or email it to you. We do prep all the documents. So removing staples, paper clips, getting it in the right format for scanning. And then at the end of the project, you have the option, as I mentioned earlier, to either have those documents returned or securely destroyed, and that's included in the price as well.
On an average, Mark, how long does it take to scan one document when you're comfortable with the software?
So are you saying for like if you were doing it internally or for us to do it?
Well, we're going to look at it both ways. We're going to look at how long it would take you, and then we're going to multiply it times 5, because that's how long it would take us probably.
Yeah. And I can give you some of the customers we're working with. Like I know the one offhand that is Mecca Township is using us. I mean, they scan a lot of their own and bring it in. It's just how, I don't know, like your scanning equipment, how long it takes to run it through there. Once it's run through there, it takes it seconds to bring it into the system. But the longest time is usually the scanning. We use commercial grade, like larger scanners. So we scan hundreds of pages a minute. For us, it's more about getting into the production line. So if you gave us something today to scan, we've got a pretty big backlog because this is the end of the school year. And we scan, as I mentioned earlier, like over 600 districts in Ohio. So like everyone's student records, all the graduates are getting scanned right now. So we're a little bit behind. It's not like we could pick up and start today. But once we would start, I don't know how many records you have, but it would probably take us about a week to, at the most, to scan what you guys would have, in my estimation.
Well, per each document, how many data fields do you have to add into the software base? I know you got to have timelines, you got to have a vendor, you got to have price, you got to have approved by. What else? How many fields do I need to put in per document?
Well, that's what you guys determine, right? So the system is customizable based on what you want your index fields to be. So whether that's, price or vendor name or, whatever those indexes are. And then for each document type, those indexes would apply to that specific document type itself. So, if you only had three, let's say it's, I don't know, personnel file, and you want to just put first name, last name, date of birth, right? You would just have those three. But if there's a different document type where you've got maybe 5 or 6, maybe it's, vendor name, vendor number, vendor, location, whatever it would be, you would have to enter in those specific indexes for that document type. So they would be keyed in when you're, indexing that document, as I showed, either on the software or right within the system doing indexing of it by just, indexing here.
Mark, one of the documents I have you scan has 25 pages in it. How do I know that all 25 pages would be there in the file? And I say that only because our particular scanner is a printer scanner, and it will occasionally, depending upon the weight of the paper, the humidity in the room, and everything else, miss a page. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering what you guys do for that type of situation.
Sure. Great question. First off, though, I would say that we don't use the same type of scanner that you use. So we use Kodak commercial grade 4500s, which the reason we use those is because misfeeds don't happen very rarely. But in the event that they would, everything that's scanned on our end goes through kind of a 3-stage process. It's brought in the boxes, obviously, that we would pick up. They actually will scan it. The batch that they scan matches what they actually have for the file count number. And once it goes through that scanning process, it then goes through a QC check. So QC check double checks. Usually that's the biggest focus, is they'll check page count to page count of that file folder. And before they do the final upload with it. Okay. So it does get through a QC stage process to find those types of things. But I will say for misfeeds, that happens commonly on regular type scanners. With the Kodaks, it's very rare that would occur.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
Any other questions that I can answer?
No, I think you've given us enough to, help make our decision.
Perfect.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
if anything
Thank you, Mark.
does come up, let me know. And Jeff, I'll send over, just because I only have your email address, but I can send over a couple references for other townships and school districts that we work with in Ohio, even counties.
That's fine. We also got your name from a couple townships that used it, plus the
okay.
Yeah, but that'd be fine. I appreciate your time very much.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I hope you all have a great evening, and the rest of your meeting goes well. And if you do run into any other questions after I jump off here, just feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Any discussion?
Well, how many categories of documents would we need? Personnel, invoices,
Fuel logs,
fuel logs?
whatever.
We've got a lot of
You could do whatever you want it. You can make as many, it's infinitely configurable, the number of categories you want to make.
But how many would we be required to?
You whatever you
Everything
want.
right?
You could have zoning,
Just-
you could have fuel logs.
And under zoning, I would have some
Tina's probably gonna have the most.
sub pieces.
But if we don't scan it in, we would still need to retain a record, a copy of that record.
Right.
But the idea with all that scanned in is if a tornado hits this place, it's all secure.
You got most of it. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. And like,
So what's critical?
What's critical?
right,
Fuel logs might not be critical, but invoices and personnel records are gonna be critical.
right. Zoning, if this place gets wiped out, his zoning records,
What's that?
all the findings.
Well, I was wondering why, on an invoice, wouldn't it be nice if they put a QR code on there that has all the information on it? So at Kroger's, you just scan that QR code and just like that, it's in.
Excel can do that. I actually do that at my day job. We're actually setting up a database with 180,000 pieces of equipment with a QR code, and Excel just creates the QR code. It's actually a pretty neat thing. Are they doing that in a PDF format, do you know?
He
Yeah,
took one
yeah.
over in
Yes,
PDF.
it puts,
It is a PDF format?
yep.
Yeah.
Because most likely your scanner will scan PDF.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
we
does.
can scan them here.
It does,
Right,
but
but the thing is, like kids that are at the high school that get out and work early to go through like job stuff, you could have them stand there and scan it, not paying 7 cents a scan. By the way, he was saying he did it for City of Cincinnati, it was $910,000.
Right, for 13 million documents. I don't think we have close to that.
Well, the only thing you'd really,
That's $1 million.
the only thing you'd really have to pay them to scan is his large plats.
But I'm just wondering
you
if
want
we, after we do our clean out, the stuff that we don't need to keep that we've got, and there's a lot of documents here that we don't need to keep. It's
Yeah.
exceeded our retention, or document retention policy. Just see how many we got. And the thing I like about it is, yeah, it's gonna be a upfront cost, but it's gonna get done. If we get somebody, who's gonna have the time to do that? We don't have that many full-time employees that can sit here, and then we gotta pay them overtime, or pay them more. And we got the chance of 25 documents, when it gets scanned in, it's 22, and we don't know that.
Right.
So get the stuff that's really essential, that we need to have, that we're required to keep for 30 years or forever, and get those documents scanned.
Yeah.
And just look at the cost, and yeah, 7 cents sounds like a lot, but it's done.
What
If
it
you can
costs
do
you
all-
in time
do
and
it all in
effort.
a week, it's
and then
done.
everything after that is
Then we do it
Processed
ongoing
electronically.
ourselves. And then it's stuff that's not that critical, like fuel logs, we can do that ourselves.
No,
And we-
Rob could actually do his fuel log when
Right.
he gets
We
done,
can do
or
all that.
you do it as,
But the stuff that we have to have, let's not throw out the 7 cents.
Oh, no, but there's a big difference though.
Yeah,
So like you said, the critical stuff,
yeah.
the other thing is, that I was thinking is, where my tree spot is.
Just,
Why can't they have like a
Did you give me
zoning
this?
one? And then like anybody in zoning could log in under the zoning.
she gave me.
Give them like a standard, just a standard code and log in for that.
You can't do that.
Set a standard code and log in.
You-
He said no.
No.
He said no.
He said no, but that doesn't mean you can't.
Well,
well, I think he's looking at John Smith. When John Smith leaves, that license goes.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem though. It should be, you're buying a license for the township, you're not buying a license for the individual.
Well,
no, you're buying a user license.
User license.
The user is
think-
by the person.
I think $59.95 a year
Yeah,
versus $29.95
That's-
a year.
that's why they do it. If you have a
Right.
lot of
If we
turnover,
have 100 people and
if
I
you're
can
the
see a
city of
school district or
Cincinnati,
something like that,
city
yeah,
of
but
Cincinnati
we
says
don't need that.
$6,000 is a deal.
Lenore, did you give me this? Okay, great, thank you.
But the city of Cincinnati's got multiple users. It's a deal for them to do $6,000, but for here, your idea would be perfect.
All right, anything else? We gotta move on. If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We are adjourned.